Hello and welcome to this video on the CCIE Service Provider Practice Lab. So Cisco have been pretty decent with their CCIE students, where they've produced some practice labs for them to use and some scenarios to go through to basically learn all the and practice all the technologies and on a topology that is going to be very similar to the actual lab that you will take. Now, if you do a quick Google search for Cisco CCIE practice labs, you'll come to this page here, and they have at the moment practice labs for CCIE Security, CCIE Enterprise, and CCIE Service Provider. So let's just have a little jump on Service Provider. So as you can see, well, you should be able to see, I'm not logged in, so this particular set of information is open source. It's in the public domain. You don't need to be logged in to actually access this. So what they've done is they've updated their labs for version 5.1, which is now the current version of the CCIE Service Provider examination. And what they've done, they've given you some topologies here. So they've given you a physical topology for IPv4, they've given you one for IPv6, they've given you one for IGPs and BGP, and for your layer 2, layer 3 VPN services. Now, they've also given you here a recommended list of devices to run. Now, the lab itself, they're running XRv 9000s and CSR 1000Vs. Now, that is an awful lot of resource. We're looking at around 200 plus megs of RAM and comfortably about 80 vCPU cores to run this particular lab. Unlike the CCIE Enterprise lab, which is mostly iOS XE images, this is mostly iOS XR. In fact, there's 22 iOS XR images on here, and each one of those for best performance is 12 gigabytes of RAM and 4 CPUs each. You can, in a lab environment, get that down to 3 CPUs and 8 gigabytes of RAM, but even so, it's a huge investment. So what I've created here, I have created the same topology, but instead of using the 64-bit iOS XR images, I've used the 32-bit iOS XR images, but a decent version, 6.6.2, I believe. The only thing that you really won't be able to do with these particular versions of iOS is run segment routing v6, but you'll be able to run everything else. You'll be able to practice everything else on that. And if you do start labbing out your SRv6, well, you just swap out some of these devices for the later ones. So in reality, you can get away with having the likes of what could we have? So we could have the root reflectors right there. So the root reflectors, they can be iOS, the lower versions, because you're not going to be running. So this could be a 32-bit. This could be a 32-bit. These are CE devices, so these can also be 32 bits and 32 bits as well. And the same as these ones here and here. And of course, this one right here as well. So you can, even if you're going for the 64-bit versions, you can still drop down some of these devices for the older 32-bit ones, because you're not going to be running on the root reflectors segment routing version 6. There's a lot of things you're not going to be running on them, because after all they are really there for is to reflect routes. And the same with the CE devices, which are also iOS XR. Now, the problem in the virtualized lab, and you'll have the same problem if you rent the lab off of Cisco, cost 50 quid for 4 hours, is that because these are virtualized devices, there are some layer 2 services that don't work. You can do VPWS, that's not a problem, but you can't run like ELAN, eTree or eAccess on them. It's just an issue with virtualization. So it really makes no big difference if you're running the older versions of Cisco IOS on the route reflectors and the customer edge devices. Not a problem at all. However, for performance and stability and for the latest feature set, you'd want to really be running the 64-bit versions for your provider routers and your PE routers. But again, in the lab environment, as we have it set up now, you will be able to run everything. It's not a problem, apart from obviously the segment routing v6, which is going to be an issue, but as I said, you can swap out. So what I've done here is the information that they've given us. Cisco have provided us with the files to download, so we can download the actual image, when I say images, the pictures of the topologies. So I've included them on here as well. So you have your, wait for that to load up, you have your IPv4 topology, which has your IP addresses. You have your IPv6 topology as well. You have your IGP and BGP topologies there, and you have your services. Now your services, for your layer 2, layer 3 VPNs, and of course you can go up the top and you can zoom in if you want them to be a little bit bigger. So if you can do that, it's not a problem. However, what I've also included on here is, if we go to I've included the base IPv4 configs. I will upload these to my website for the corresponding blog that goes with the video, and you'll be able to download the actual base configurations, which have all the IPv4 configs on them. And I've also included some Ansible files as well. So I've included the Ansible host file, which has all the hosts, and I have them set because I'm using Linux and a Vert interface here. So my IP address is 192.168.122.x. That's fine. You can obviously change these depending on your setup. So I've included the host files. I've included an Ansible script to configure the actual IPv4 addressing on the devices as well. I've included the host variables, which have all of them have the IPv addressing that is on the actual topology included on there. So you can be up and there's two ways you can do it. You can be up and running really quickly by basically just taking the base IPv4 configs and pasting them in, or if you want to play around with a bit of network automation, you can use Ansible to add them on as well. That's fine. And of course, again, I will also of course be including the lab itself with so you can actually sit there and start practicing. So I hope you'll make good use of this. I said, unfortunately, the workbooks and the scenarios that Cisco offer were bound by confidentiality. So unfortunately, I won't be able to share any of the information on that. However, I am going to start creating my own workbooks. Not a copy of theirs, obviously, because again that would be a breach, but along a similar sort of lines. So as time goes by, I'll start bringing out some workbooks for this particular lab, and we can all start practicing together for the CCIE, because of course I don't have mine yet. I'm still waiting to book mine, but hopefully I'll pass mine and you'll all pass yours. But I know that with the service provider, there is not an awful lot of resource out there unless you really want to pay through the nose for it. So anything that I can provide, for free, I will. After all, sharing is caring, as they say. So I hope you enjoy the EVNG Lab. You can run it in EVNG, you can run it in PNet. It's up to you, whichever you happen to use. I hope you enjoyed the files, hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you enjoy the workbooks that I will start creating as time allows. All right, thank you very much, and good luck with your studies.